We're recording.
Hi guys, my name's Reese. I'm a junior at Manhattan High and I'm on the golf team.
Hi guys, my name is Isabel Chavez, and I'm a junior from Manhattan High, and I'm on the cheer team. So today we're here to talk to you guys about cold-blooded animals. Does anybody know another name for cold-blooded? Great guesses. Another fancy word for cold-blooded is ectotherm. Can anyone tell me some animals that they think may be cold-blooded? Great, so reptiles, amphibians, bees and dragonflies are also cold-blooded. So amphibians are like frogs, and reptiles are like lizards or geckos. So does anybody know what cold-blooded is? So basically, cold-blooded is when your blood in your body is cold. So that means whatever temperature it is outside, that's the temperature of like the lizard or the cold-blooded animal. And so like we said before, the animals that have it are like lizards, alligators, crocodiles, and bees can even have it too. And how they survive is they use the sun as a big, nice, warm blanket for them to keep them nice and warm and cozy. And they also, as you can see in the picture, they like to lay on rocks to get the sun. And they can also expand the rib cage to get more sun and make their skin darker because the sun likes darker colors. And so advantages is that they eat less food because food is energy, and energy gives us the way we are able to move. And so they're also able to live in inhospitable areas. Does anybody know what inhospitable means? And no, it does not mean hospital. It means kind of hard, harsh areas. So like as you can see, like the desert would be an inhospitable area that they can live in, but so is Antarctica, but they can't live there because there's not enough sun for them to stay warm. And it's also harder for them to get sick. So germs and bacteria and viruses like to grow in warm places, but since they're not warm, they can't really grow in them. And also another disadvantage is that they like to keep their temperature nice and low, which is a bad thing because if it gets too low, they'll die. And a disadvantage is, like we said, they wouldn't be able to live in Antarctica or the mountains, so you won't ever really see cold-blooded animals in those areas. And our last disadvantage is that they're sluggish. Does anybody know what sluggish means? Well, sluggish means that they kind of move slow, kind of in slow motion, so they can't really run as fast as they would be able to if they were warm-blooded.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about warm-blooded animals. Does anybody remember what our fancy word was for the cold-blooded? It was ectotherm. So our fancy word for the warm-blooded is
Reese, I can't hear you. Still can't hear you.
warm by themselves. So the cold-blooded needed the sun to keep themselves warm, but the warm-blooded can keep themselves warm on their own. Does anybody know what type of animals are warm-blooded? Yeah, so our dog and our hippo that we have here, also cats and pigs and horses and animals like that are all warm-blooded too. So some advantages of warm-blooded is that they can control their body temperature. So they can also be active in all seasons. So that means that they can live in the desert and or they can live in places that are warm in the summer and cold in the winter. So like the mountains where it's pretty warm in the summer and it's really cold in the winter. They can live there, and they can also live in places like here in Kansas where it's really hot in the summer and cold in the winter. Warm-blooded animals also have fur, so like lions and horses have hair on them too. So animals like that have fur are warm-blooded. Some disadvantages is that warm-blooded animals have to keep eating lots of food because, like Isabel said earlier, they need that food to make energy, and they use energy to keep themselves warm. So the cold-blooded didn't need that because the sun kept them warm. But the warm-blooded, they need the food so they can keep themselves warm. So they have to eat lots of food, and sometimes that's hard if they live in places where food's not always available. And then another disadvantage is that the virus and bacteria, which is a fancy word for germs, like Isabel said, like to live in the warm places. So they like to live in warm-blooded animals, and so warm-blooded animals can get sick easier. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the circulatory system. Does anybody know what the circulatory system is? So the circulatory system is how your blood runs through your body. And so how it works is that your heart pumps the blood throughout your body, and you have little blue lines on your wrists. If you look at your wrist, you can see that you have blue lines. Those are called veins, and that's what your blood goes through. So this is an example of a warm-blooded circulatory system. Does anybody know what type of heart this is? So this is a human heart. So this is an example of a warm-blooded heart because humans are warm-blooded. But not all hearts look like this. Every animal has a different shaped heart. So basically how it works is your blood runs through your body, and then it goes to your heart. And your heart pumps your blood into your lungs, and it goes to your lungs to get air because your blood needs air. And so it goes and gets the air from the lungs and then goes back into your heart, and then your heart pumps it throughout your entire body. It does this really fast. It does it all in one heartbeat. So if you all hold up two fingers, and you put it right here on your neck, right below your jaw, and you hold really, really still, you can feel your heartbeat. And if you can't feel your heartbeat there, then you can feel it on your wrist, right there. So those are some ways that you can feel your heartbeat. And then another thing is if you hold up a fist, like this, fist is the same size as your heart. So if you ever wonder how big your heart is, you can just get your fist. And as you grow and your fist grows, so does your heart grows too. So now this is an example of a cold-blooded circulatory system. So we looked at our lungs that were on the left and the right side of our heart, and the warm-blooded. Now the cold-blooded have the lungs on the top and the bottom, so that's a way that they're different. They also have a special vein, which if you remember, the veins are the blue lines in your body that carry the blood. They have a special vein in their heart that has blood with oxygen and blood without oxygen, so it's mixed. Where in the warm-blooded, the blood got the oxygen and then it went through the body and then it didn't have oxygen anymore. So this is special blood that has both the oxygen and blood without oxygen. And then if you look to the right, we have different shaped hearts to show that every animal has a different shaped heart. So you can see the lizard, the snake, the crocodile, and the turtle, all different shaped hearts there. Okay, so now we're gonna play a game where you guys are gonna hold up a W if you think the animal is warm-blooded, or a C if you think the animal is cold-blooded, and Isabel's gonna name them off for us.
Okay, so here we have the whale. What do you guys think a whale is? A whale is warm-blooded, and a whale's warm-blooded because they have peach fuzz on their body, so it's like their fur. Now, what do you think the penguin is? Cold or warm? Warm-blooded. It is because they have fur as well, and like we said earlier, that cold-blooded animals can't live in Antarctica. Now, what do you guys think the crocodile is? Cold or warm? It's cold-blooded because a crocodile's a reptile. Now, what's a bee? We talked about a bee earlier. A bee is cold-blooded. A bee is one of the insects that are cold-blooded. Now, what is a snake? That's right, cold-blooded. That is because it is a reptile. Now, what are we? What are humans? That's right, we're warm-blooded. Our hair is kind of like our fur. And what do you guys think a bear is? Cold or warm? Warm-blooded. That is because they have fur. Now, what is a frog? Cold-blooded. That's right, because a frog is an amphibian. Now, I don't know if you guys can see this. Now, what do you guys think a fish is? That's right, cold-blooded, because they're underwater. And what do you guys think a pig is? Warm-blooded. Now, what about a hippo? Warm-blooded. They like to go swim in the water to cool down. What about a bird? A bird is warm-blooded. The feathers are like their fur. Now, what do you guys think the bat is? We tricked you. It's both warm and cold-blooded. So this, because when they hang upside down, they lose all their heat. But when they start to flap their wings, that creates their energy and their heat. So just like a bee, when they flap their wings, that's how they stay warm, and so that's how the bat works. Now, what about a leopard gecko? Warm or cold-blooded? That's right, cold-blooded. So now we have our animal, Cleo. Reese will read some facts for you guys about Cleo, and I'll show you.
Okay, so Cleo is our pet that we have in our class, and normally if we were coming to your class right now, we would pass her around and let you guys pet her, but unfortunately we can't do that. So Cleo is a female. She is about 6 months, somewhere around there, 6-7 months old. She is cold-blooded, and she is an adolescent, so that means that she's not all the way grown up yet, so she's not as big as she can get, which is about 8 inches. And but she's also not a baby because we've had her for a while, so she's like a teenager, like Isabel and I. Her tail can fall off if she is threatened, so if she gets really scared and thinks that another animal is coming to get her, then her tail can fall off as like a decoy, so the predator goes after her tail instead of Cleo. Another thing about Cleo is that she has claws instead of most geckos have sticky pads on their feet, and so she has claws so she can grip onto stuff. And she eats crickets and mealworms. That's a big question that we have. So.
And she has spots on her because she's called a leopard gecko. So it's like the spots on a leopard.
And you can see in our picture on the top, you can see that she's shedding her skin. She does that about twice a month probably. And that's because she's growing. So her skin is kind of like her clothes. So as we grow up, we have to get new clothes because we grow out of our old clothes and they're too small. So that's kind of like what her skin is. She gets too big for her skin and it gets too small, so it sheds off. And she'll actually eat her skin because it's a really good nutrient for her. It's like a vitamin and it's really healthy for her.
Yeah. Thank you for listening.
Bye.